everybody. You are listening to ToRAISE Questions Doula podcast. This is Melanie Headley. I'm here with Thérèse Hakoun, the wonderful Thérèse Hakoun, the executive director of ToLabor, which is an international doula training and certifying organization. Good morning, Thérèse.
Hey, Melanie. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sitting here drinking my big juice, which always looks so unattractive.
It looks delicious.
But it's so good. I drink, Paul makes this for me every day.
And drops it off when we're podcasting.
Yeah.
He's so sweet. He even took a picture of us today.
That's right. In our newer space. And so if you hear me sipping, that's what I'm doing. I'm drinking my 48 ounces of freshly made all vegetable juice. But I'm doing good, and I'm glad to be here with you.
You look great. I like your haircut.
Oh, thank you, Melanie. She knows that the normal reaction would be like, I don't really like it, or I don't know. Yeah. So she's trying to help me learn how to say, yeah. Just say thank you.
Yes.
Just say thank you. So,
what are we talking about today?
Well, we have a guest here in the studio today who is going to be talking about placenta encapsulation.
I cannot wait to talk about this. I already really believe in placenta encapsulation, but I'm so excited to learn from her and especially learn how to really talk to my clients about it.
Yeah. So this will be a good topic. And I think that people who are listening some are placenta encapsulators themselves. Some are doulas who just want to have clients who want more information, who are doing this, whatever the case may be. And for others, it's like brand new. Like I don't really know anything about it. So wherever we're at with this, it should be a great episode. So we'll be right back. So this workshop, let's start again.
Episode 84, Latched Mama ad. So do you like my shirt?
I love your shirt.
Guess where I got it?
Where'd you get it?
Latchedmama.com.
And you're not even nursing.
I know.
But I get why you're wearing it.
It's adorable, right? I love it so much. And how hot is it today?
I know. The sleeveless ones are so great. I mean, really. And they're so comfortable. You would never, honestly, Melanie, I would never know that the shirt you're wearing is a breastfeeding
I know,
t-shirt.
and it has like a little bit of cleavage, which I like.
It's to fill those big breastfeeding breasts.
Well, these aren't big breastfeeding breasts any longer, unfortunately.
But so we're sponsored by Latch Mama. You've heard us talk about it. Please check them out on latchmama.com, and want to make sure for our listeners that they know that they can use a coupon.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Podcast 10. And that's 10% off.
Right. It's good until August 31st, so pass it on to your clients. Use it yourself. I mean,
I actually used it.
Well, and I've said I have 3 of the hoodies. They're so, so comfortable. And not one person has ever thought that was anything but a hoodie with this flap, if they even notice the flap.
Right.
It's just design. Look at everybody's clothes. So really comfortable, great business, wonderful owners. So please support them and check them out, latchmama.com.
So I am really excited to have our guest in here today.
Yep.
She is local to us, so I've been able to work with her a few times here and see her in passing birth circles and doula meetings and whatnot. So I'm really excited to hear what she has to say and learn from her. Nicole Link-Troen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be on the podcast. I've listened to it a lot, just driving around. You do a lot of driving, going back and forth to client houses. And, it's always a pleasure to hear Thérèse, who was a big part of my early mothering.
Wow.
experience.
It's so good to have you here. And so, we invited you because we know that you're a placenta encapsulator.
Yeah, a placenta geek.
Yes,
but yeah.
That's true. I guess that would be the way to describe yourself, huh?
Yeah.
So tell us, what brought you to being a part of this aspect of birth? Because you're not a birth doula, but you're very involved in birth. So what's your story?
Oh my goodness. So, I'm actually, it's funny. I've been doing placenta encapsulation for over 6 years now. I became certified through Placenta Benefits to encapsulate placentas in 2010 after I gave birth to my own child. And I've recently completed certification for postpartum doula work as an extension of the placenta work that I'm already doing.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's so logical. And for me personally, my history starts really when I was 7. My mom had my next sibling when I turned 7, and she ended up having a total of 7 cesareans. But she had her last cesarean when I was 16 years old. So I have always done birth work. I've always done postpartum care. A lot of postpartum care. You don't have that many surgical births and not need a postpartum doula. So, it's become a natural extension of my life. But at the same time, when I approached motherhood myself, I had a lot of baggage from that I didn't process very well. So, I started having a lot of prenatal depression as the hormonal changes happen and your bags open up and you got to go through them. Surprise, surprise. And one thing that my midwife had recommended for me was to look into encapsulation and consuming the placenta. And I was like, I don't think I want to do that. I just want to bury it. I'll just keep it. Can I just bury it? But as the pregnancy progressed, I decided it was something that I did want to do. I wanted to try, and, there isn't a lot of evidence for it. And I figured it couldn't hurt. There wasn't going to be harm. And the lady at the time was down about 2 hours away. So she drove up and processed the placenta, and that was my introduction to birth work. So I decided to become certified as a new mother. I knew that I wanted to do birth work, that I wanted to work with pregnant women and new mothers. But I didn't have a strong community support at that time. And so placenta encapsulation presented itself as something that could be scheduled and was pseudo on call. We have roughly 48 hours to get in there and start the process. So I can't leave for very long or go very far when I'm on call, but
it's not like the birth doula who has to really be present.
Right. It's not drop everything and run, but I keep my phone real close.
Sure. So. And so you, your own experience is what I hear brought you to a place of understanding that this could be beneficial, and it worked in your lifestyle as well. So you went and you got trained and you got certified, and you just started putting your name out there, and things started evolving. In the past 6 years, the growth, the change.
Wow.
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to bring that up. So the history of encapsulation is actually really scarce. There's a study out there for you other placenta nerds by Sharon Young that was a cross-cultural anthropological analysis of 179 different cultures. And in those analysis, they found 4 accounts of placenta consumption, and it's unclear whether that consumption was the mother that produced the placenta consuming or just community members consuming placenta. They found that the majority of humanity buries their placenta in very ritualistic ways, that there are a lot of beliefs around how the placenta is handled.
Right. As a part of life.
Yes, as a part of life, and specifically that if it was somehow mishandled or fell into the wrong hands, that some harm may come to the mother or child.
Right.
So that's a big reason for burial of the placenta, usually on some sacred land, to tie the the child to its home, so it can always find its way home. Yeah, it's...
Oh, that's beautiful.
I know, right?
And I knew that, and actually have buried placentas with trees, and then had to move and felt, like, can we take the tree because it has been nourished by the placenta, but knowing, it's that same kind of, did a ritual, understood it wasn't just, we have to bury this. There was a reason for, at least in our practice, that there was a real reason for doing this. So I like that thought.
What do you know about mammals and their placentas?
Okay, so mammals consume, and this goes right into the history of encapsulation.
Other than human mammals.
Other than human mammals, yes, eutherian mammals. They consume their placentas. The ones that don't are whales, because they frankly can't catch it. They've got to get the baby to the surface.
Right.
Camels, we don't know why. Yeah, camels are funny. I'll ask one day if I meet one. But the vast majority of mammals consume their placentas. A bunch of theories have been thrown out there as to why they do it. One of the big ones we hear all the time, and that your clients may bring up, is that the mother eats the placenta as a way to clean the nest site from predators and hide the evidence of birth. And that just doesn't hold up to any scrutiny, because there's still going to be other fluids. Mammals that could leave the birth space, like deer, give birth to young that can just walk away. They don't just walk away. They take the extra time to consume the placenta. So far, the only rigorous theory that's held up is that there's some pain relief associated with amniotic fluid, and it's called the placental opioid enhancement factor. That's Dr. Crystal's work. If you get into placenta studies at all, you're going to run into Dr. Mark Crystal. He has the longest track record, and there's really only a handful of people doing research on placenta consumption and placentaphagia, as it's called. But I think the main thing to keep in mind when it comes to humans consuming the placenta is that we're actually really new at this. The longest history that we have of evidence for placenta consumption comes from traditional Chinese medicine, but they're using it medicinally and not necessarily for the mother that is postpartum at birth, right? They use it to treat fatigue and insufficient lactation. One of my favorite studies, it's got a very sexy title. Are you ready? The fire hypothesis, right? And it basically stipulates that because humans are the only mammals that cook our food, that early pre-literate man would have had pregnant women that were constantly being exposed to wood smoke throughout the pregnancy. And we know from studies that are done on placentas of women that smoke during pregnancy that smoke exposure really damages the placenta and can load it up with harmful heavy metals. So the theory is that because we cook our food over fire, that early man would have figured out that it was evolutionarily disadvantageous to be consuming placentas. And there seems to be, in fact, across all human cultures, an aversion to eating the placenta. And I think that it's a hypothesis. We can't go back and ask.
Well, no, and we can't ask. I will say about the mammals. Also, we can't ask the mammals because I do think there is. This is my own belief. I still think there's credibility in that the eating of the placenta is potentially predatory oriented, whether the mammal can leave the site or not. But I'm not saying that I know that and that's exclusive. But I've heard people be definitive. No, it's the mammals eat it because this is why they do it. You know,
and we don't know.
And I've always asked, well, did you ask that mammal? Because how, we're assuming something without really understanding. Yep. I could see a mammal wanting to consume it for what you said, the opiate aspect of it, but also for the nutrients. Just, it is an organ. I mean, it does have, after a birth, the strenuous activity. It may be the first food, the most available food for a mammal to restore some energy because
Sure.
we want people to eat after they give birth. For a mammal, they're not necessarily going to go off and hunt their food at that moment. So I could see even that, but how do we know if that's what it is?
Yeah, both of those are commonly cited as reasons why, dogs and cats would eat their placentas. But the truth is, we don't know. It is an enigma, as Dr. Crystal has written about before.
But what is interesting to me, Nicole, is the anthropological study that only says out of 179 cultures, is that what you said?
Yep.
Only 4 has evidence that they actually ate the placenta, but it's not clear how and when the placenta or who it was used, which is something that, many, many, many years ago when I was starting in this field, people would eat the placenta. Not everyone. It wasn't popular like it is now, to use that phrase. But it was always that in indigenous communities, this is what they do. But obviously that isn't.
I do think there's an inherent lack of written record.
Yeah.
Because this is, and something that is brought up in another book that doulas should have on their shelf, it's Cornelia Enning's The Gift of Life.
Yeah.
That this is women's history. And for the vast majority of human history, women are not taught to read and write. Some of the most educated women are midwives, so they would be exposed to placenta consumption, but they don't write about it.
Right.
And this could easily be one of those after-birth practices that happens strictly in the female sphere, and we don't have
a recording of
it.
Yeah.
And I mean, as a historian myself, I definitely think that that's part of it. And placenta, if you don't know, it's Latin for flat cake. It's referred to as something that you would consume in its name. And I think that words have a lot of power, and the root of words is important to keep in mind.
And I think that when I was learning about the eating of the placenta, that it was being done by indigenous community midwives, that it was actually witnessed by those who were traveling to those communities to work in birth as midwives, and that they saw midwives handing a chunk of the placenta to a woman who may have just given birth, and they were waiting for the bleeding to stop. It was a method that was associated potentially with helping with postpartum hemorrhage.
Yes.
So I think that it wasn't written down, it was witnessed. And those stories came back like, well, why aren't we doing this then as well?
Yes.
But I like that aspect of thinking it could have been done, but there was no recording of it. It doesn't mean it wasn't done. It just wasn't a written recording.
Exactly. And we get the first written records in the 70s in, like you said, hippie commune communities that cook the placenta and share it as a meal.
Right.
So when that's our earliest record, and that's also, you're seeing it in industrialized countries, which I think leads even more credence to the fire hypothesis, because you've got that account in the 70s, and then there's been this huge surge just in the last decade, really. There was a little bit happening in the 90s in the desert with Raven Lang and them, but just it's been the internet.
So
the internet
what
is
is
a huge
it?
factor.
The internet, but why? I mean, why are you encapsulating people's placentas? I mean, what is the thought process behind it, besides what we just said, that maybe mammals do it, maybe for a good reason? Why would a human mammal who it isn't been a part of our history?
So the number one reason that women contact me more so than anything is, and I think this is partly to do with the media hype about it being a potential cure for postpartum depression. And certainly that is something that is hypothesized about encapsulation.
Can I interrupt you for a second? I think that's a great word that you just used, hypothesized.
Oh yes.
Because
I immediately.
And I know we're going to talk, you're going to go into it. I just want to point that out, that because when it is discussed, it is not a hypothesis. Yep. It is a fact. It's presented as a fact, and I'm not arguing against this. No. So go forward.
Oh, and it's so frustrating for me as the encapsulator, because my whole reason for doing this for women and women in my community is to make sure that it's done safely. And because that woman, if she does want to consume her placenta, has just given birth, she's going to be tired. It's going to be a serious chore, as I discovered when I tried to do it myself after my second birth. And I want to offer that service to women as an encapsulator. That aside, when a mom calls and says, I had horrible postpartum depression with my first baby, and I really, really want to avoid that, and so I'd like to hire you. And I said, okay, so what else are we doing? What is your spouse able to take time off work? Is your mom coming into town? What more are you doing? Because that's just one aspect. And there is iron in the placenta. We know that there's iron in the placenta, and iron can really help stave off fatigue.
Right.
And the fatigue is a major factor for depression, but this is all it is your placenta. Okay. We refer to them as magic happy pills, but it is the iron and the hormones that your body has produced. The end. If you need to be talking to someone about your anxieties, then we want to get you in touch with those people.
So am I hearing you say there is this misconception often when you get this phone call that if they take these their placenta pills, that they will not have postpartum depression?
Yes, that is the perception.
That's perhaps the only thing they need to do. And what you are saying is that it may support your body physically by the iron, and hormonally, if there are hormones still in the tissue,
yes,
that will support your system. But it is not the cure for postpartum depression.
Certainly.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And I think it's really interesting, especially coming from you as a placenta encapsulator, to hear you say that very confidently.
Sure.
Because I really don't think, and I'm sure there are people who are listening who will say, because I listen to the anecdotes all the time.
Yep.
Because I know there's not a lot of research. And, I would say 95% of the stories I've listened to are unanimously, in those 95%, it made all the difference in the world to me.
It's actually amazing that you say 95%. The one peer-reviewed study that we have, that was a bunch of surveys of 189 different women that consume their placentas, 95% of them reported either positive or very positive results from doing encapsulation. And I think saying we don't have evidence to support...
I'm sorry, say what the percentage was?
95%.
Oh, really? Isn't that great?
Yeah.
See how my anecdotes work well?
Yeah, you're doing great.
That's why they do. Anecdotes are what really research is based on.
Exactly. It's where the questions start. And I think that as we're coming under some more scrutiny, that it means that people are finally taking notice of what women are saying. And this is about being an encapsulator, and supporting women means that you listen to them. Same way, I think that's what the essence of what a doula is too, is that you listen to the woman and you believe her.
So what do you think is making people feel that the placenta pills are really helping them feel better? I guess I'm going to ask this question. Do you think that it is the quote unquote placebo effect? Do you think that it is, there is the support that we already talked about nutritionally, in essence, for your complementary for your body? Do you think if they are investigating that, they are also looking into what other postpartum support can I get to support me through this experience, like you put out there as a postpartum doula, like, you got to do, what can we do to help you in this situation? I mean,
yes.
What?
I do think that there are substances in the placenta, and I think that even the critics are acknowledging that when they're bringing up concerns, right? So I've had over 300 clients at this point, and that's not an insignificant number.
No, it isn't.
I'm able to pull from my own statistics, and those women, after the fact, if she is saying that these placenta pills are amazing, I feel great, I have excellent energy, my mood is so good, I am leaking like a dairy cow, this is awesome, my bleeding's done. And I personally, when I took my pills, my milk came in on day 2 as a first-time mom, which is a little crazy, and my bleeding was done by day 14. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that over and over again with clients of mine. And I think that midwives are big supporters of this practice,
right,
because they've seen it benefit women, whether it's a placebo effect or not. We don't have studies to say one way or the other, so it's entirely possible that it is. We do have some research, again, from Sharon Young coming out from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, that's currently in peer review that studies exactly, is this placenta or is this placebo? I don't think that it is. I definitely don't think that because it comes from the woman's own body, I don't think that it's harmful. And it's certainly worth a try.
I that's what I always say to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I make it clear that there is not evidence at this moment. Matter of fact, here's a quote. This is from, there is something called the Human Placenta Project. It's been a couple of years from the Eunice Shriver National Institute of Child Health and Human Development. Mm-hmm. And what their quote is, the placenta is the least understood human organ, but arguably one of the most important, one of the most important. It goes on a little bit, but I'll stop there. So there really isn't a lot of research, and they're studying all aspects of the placenta, how how it grows, what is the purpose, all of those things besides the after. But I don't think it causes harm. So if it's going to help, and 95% of the people are saying this really helped me, then why wouldn't you do it?
Exactly. I think it's one of those things, it's all about stacking the odds in your favor. Why not try it and see if it helps? And the worst thing, who knows?
Right. So here's a question, though, goes along with that. This has always been my question, and I've never gotten the answer, and maybe it still doesn't exist, or maybe it does now.
No pressure, ToRAISE.
Who, me? There is no pressure on this. It's the question I always ask. So if the placenta is in essence the filter, mm-hmm. I think of it like our liver. Mm-hmm. It's the place everything goes through. And so if that person, while they were pregnant, was on some drugs of some sort, or they were, so that would go through, their blood system comes through the placenta, and mm-hmm. we know potentially, obviously, into the baby as well. If they were on medications during their labor, narcotics, epidural, mm-hmm. fentanyl, whatever the case might be, my question always is that the placenta you want to eat?
It's a very good question, and it's something that I have safeguards in place for as an encapsulator. Specifically, right at registration, I ask if the mother is a smoker. Mm-hmm. Smoking is a big no-go for me personally. I know there are other encapsulators that don't feel that way, but I know that if that mom smoked a half a pack a day, and I'm not talking the mom that was smoking the first couple weeks of pregnancy, found out she was pregnant and quit right away. I'm talking smoke continually. She's got 9 months worth of cadmium mm-hmm. built up in that placenta. Mm-hmm. And if she takes all of her placenta pills in the first, she's taking 9 months worth of heavy metals in 1 month. I don't want to be a party to causing that woman harm. So to answer your question, as far as drugs and things during labor, we do know that the drugs given during labor have a half-life, and that they do break down, and that they are in trace amounts in the placenta and therefore in the resulting capsules. The current thought, of course, is that if the placenta was healthy enough to grow a healthy baby to term, then it is healthy enough to consume. And if the mother was given medication during labor that she did not have an adverse react to, that was safe to give to her during labor, then it is safe for her to be consuming in trace amounts through the capsules postpartum.
Okay, so you're answering the question, which I appreciate. So forgive me when I say, but that's, I heard the words you say, we believe.
Yep.
So it's not substantiated.
No, because this isn't studied.
Right.
We are so in need of studies.
That will be studied.
I hope so.
I hope so. Because I think it really is an important factor. I think that even, no offense at all, and I know you won't take it, Nicole, because you know me, but to say that the drugs that were given during the labor are safe, we also know that they are off-label use drugs that are being given, and that they are, if it's a narcotic, most of them are a class C narcotic, which has been deemed not safe for mothers and babies in pregnancy, but they're used regardless.
In labor,
so I do have concern about that.
That sounds like a concern for the entire medical process.
Right. Well, obviously. Yeah. And that's where it comes from. But I think then ingesting it may be in minute amounts. It makes no difference because it already was there.
Right.
It's just I think about what you are consuming. And I think you're right on and very evidence-based, I think, in whether it is there yet or not, it can be. About the smoking with the heavy metal aspect. That makes a lot of sense. I just wonder if there are other factors like that. And
another thing that we watch out for as encapsulators is infection prior to delivery, and the health of the baby may be in question. Mom will show some symptoms there, but really the care provider needs to determine that the placenta is healthy, and hopefully they've looked at it and done that. And then the other question that I will ask, usually at the same time that they call to say we've had the baby, is mom having any adverse reactions? I learned the hard way very, very early on with the very second placenta that I did. Mom was given morphine that she was allergic to. They knew she was allergic, just pure medical error. She was allergic to the morphine. We went forward with encapsulation, and then she would take her placenta pills and would break out in hives because she was allergic to the morphine.
And see, there's
still in the placenta.
See, and that's
that's a problem.
Well, and here's that little bit there. I'm so sorry, but it's one of the things that I have not been able to get a clear answer on, and it is of concern because so many people do use drugs during pregnancy, labor, and birth, that I want it to be studied. I'm not putting you on the spot to be the answer to it. I just wanted to know if it had evolved yet. Is that if that morphine she received, see, it was enough in her placenta to still cause her.
Yes, she had a very mild reaction,
but she still had it.
So that's reaction that she called.
That's kind of confirming.
Is this normal? I'm like, oh, let me call my mentor,
because that kind of confirms what my concern is.
It taught me over time to then ask the dad, usually, is who's calling me. And I said, is she having any adverse reactions? Anything?
I guess that's it. It's if there's I guess and it's not that I think that people still shouldn't do it. It's just me, the questioner. That's why it's called ToRAISE Questions. Is why, if it's not showing, if the person's not having adverse effects, it must be okay then.
Right. And the risk, and it's a risk-benefit analysis.
Right.
Right. The benefits of encapsulation, according to the anecdotal evidence and all the testimonials, stable and abundant milk supply, the involution of the uterus happens better, so there's less bleeding postpartum, and that's held out with the midwives sticking the piece of placenta under the tongue.
Right.
The iron support to help stave off anemia and fatigue, and more energy, and more stable mood. That's what we hear from moms.
And we do. We do. And so, my question is not really relevant to how people respond. It's more of that question in my mind of curiosity, of wanting to know.
Absolutely. And it's a good question.
Yeah. And I hope it will be researched in this what's going to happen. And because, don't you think, that with placentas being so much more commonly consumed now, there are going to be studies done.
I would love to say yes, but the fact of the matter is I feel that this is more in the realm of herbal, similar to herbal medicines, where we know that you drink a cup of chamomile tea, you're probably going to have an easier time falling asleep, right? But there's no study to prove that. So, because there's not going to be a drug company that gets in on this.
Yeah, has ACOG made any kind of statement about these?
They have not.
Yeah, because I haven't ever seen any, but I thought you would be more aware. Yeah,
if they have, I'd love to know, but I have not seen anything to date.
See, that's what I think is eventually they're going to come out with.
They're going to need to.
Yeah, and they're going to then either conduct the study or just have the opinion-based statement, which they often do.
So I don't think they'll be doing a study simply because there isn't money in it for the providers.
Well, yeah, but
I know that's really cynical.
No. But the pharmaceutical company more so.
And the pharmaceutical company may come up with
a
hormonal. Of course they will. And the way that I spend a lot of time talking to grandmothers, the way I explain this and normalize it for them is I say, this is just like the hormone therapy that you were offered at when you went through the menopause, right? But instead of Premarin, which is pregnant marriage urine, this is the hormones. This is hormone therapy. This is the hormones that her body grew, that her body recognizes and knows how to integrate directly into her system. And it's just for this short window of time while she's going through these big hormonal changes.
So the placenta has been dissected to be able and studied to see what hormones are in there. I mean, how do we know that the hormones are still in that
in there
organ
after the processing?
Yeah.
I do know that they looked at processed powder. I don't know if the results were published, but I attended a webinar where they looked and they saw that the progesterone remains intact, that the CRH, the cortisol releasing hormone, remains intact after the processing. And
how about oxytocin?
Oxytocin's actually not intact.
Present. I think people think it is.
Yeah, and it's in very small amounts.
Because I think that's when people think it helps with hemorrhaging, is that it's rich in oxytocin.
And I have my own theory about that, and this is totally my theory from just being in the field and doing the work and reading the papers. I believe very strongly that when you take the placenta hormones and they're going into the body during the pregnancy through the bloodstream, when you take those exact same hormones and put them into the body orally and into the digestive system, that it triggers a different reaction in the body that is a chemical signal that says the pregnancy's over. Like, the only way that these hormones can be coming in through this pathway, the pregnancy must be over. Let's shut down the uterus, clamp it off, and lactate.
It's an interesting theory.
Absolutely. I'd love to have somebody study it. If anybody wants to call. We have ideas for sure. And I think, mammals, they do consume their placentas. They don't have the problems with hemorrhage that we have. They don't have the problems with lactation that we do. And I know that a lot of our lactation problems are cultural, but there's also physical things that are happening too. Milk not coming in until almost full week sometimes for some moms. That's a problem.
Right.
So
what else, Nicole, do you want to cover?
Oh, I wanted to cover the interview as doulas. I think we haven't touched on that very much because...
that's good.
So my favorite, and this comes from a doula, my favorite way that doulas can approach clients if they don't bring it up themselves, and they very well might bring it up themselves, but you can bring it up at any of the prenatals and simply say, do you have plans for your placenta? Not, are you going to encapsulate your placenta? That's a bit aggressive. Right. And they're probably going to go, oh no, the doula is the hippie Birkenstock wearing one we feared after all. We knew it, So just say, do you have any plans for your placenta? And then that will... they'll answer and say, oh, yes, I'm planning to encapsulate, and here's the lady, and can you call her when we have the baby? By the way, that's on your to-do list. Or then it opens up a dialogue, and the mom goes, should I have plans?
Right.
And you can always encourage moms to freeze the placenta. If they're really, maybe they've heard of encapsulation, they don't want to do it. They're kind of like, that sounds weird, but I also don't want to be struggling postpartum. You simply double bag it in Ziploc bags, food safe bags, and freeze it immediately after the birth. And it's good for a minimum of 6 months in the freezer. We can thaw it and do the encapsulation.
Really?
Yeah. So if you've got a mom that is 3 or 4 weeks out and she is just not climbing out of that baby blues period, it may be good.
So we feel like 6 months.
After 6 months, you could still encapsulate, but then you're kind of running into food safety guidelines. You're running out of time there. What I really like to offer for moms that have saved their placenta is to bury it at the 1 year birthday, because like either at the party, if you're feeling out and open about sharing your placenta with grandma and grandpa, or before the party starts, have that quiet ritual where you acknowledge this was a third player in that day that we had when I gave birth to my baby. Especially if there was any trauma with delivering the placenta, it can be very healing. You can make a print from the placenta at that time. So instead of just in the chaos of the moment of birth, discarding and disposing and incinerating the placenta, to bring it home. So
doulas can ask the question, and this is just what doulas should do, period, with so many things. Do you have plans for your placenta? And if they say, no, I don't know, then you offer options and choices, which can be including placenta encapsulation, and you know who in the community does it, or you are that person yourself. Great. I think that, and with no feeling of pressure about it, but helping somebody would, we're all about, at least to labor doulas are, evidence-based information. So being thank you. Transparent. About that the evidence is still being accumulated. It is definitely anecdotal, but here are the anecdotal.
Absolutely.
Yes. And what in the hospital, because so many people give birth in the hospital. We have it. We put it out on our Facebook page a while ago about a mom, I think she was in Alabama or Louisiana, who wanted her placenta to come home with her.
It was Mississippi,
and it was one of the South. And, they to encapsulate, and they would not release it to her because they said it was, toxic waste, medical waste. And she fought it.
Yes,
and won as a legal aspect. But I think that's a rare case that at least we're aware of. It's not very common.
I don't think it's rare because
I don't think it's common.
No, it's not common, but the mom's right to take her placenta home is protected by state law in Hawaii and Oregon, and I think Texas now just passed something. And there was another case in Las Vegas that was part of the reason that Placenta Benefits was founded, was that I think it was Sunrise Hospital, this was years ago, guys, like 2007 or something, denied the mom the right to take her placenta home, and the judge ordered that it had to be released to her. Now, it was well after the fact. They couldn't do anything besides bury it, but there is legal precedence
to support that.
So,
barring that, if somebody wants to have their placenta encapsulated, and, this is something you as a doula do not do, what has to happen for them to, you said 48 hours, but what happens
they do need to have a healthy placenta,
right?
First and foremost,
right?
The care provider, they have to talk to their care provider, and they may have a care provider who is unsupportive. And I'm glad you said that, people give birth in the hospitals. I wanted to bring up my own stats, which show that 90% of my clients birth in the hospital.
Well, yeah, I mean,
which 98%. I think this is perceived as that like home birth thing.
98% of people in this country, birth in the hospital. So that's where so many people are doing this.
Yes, and 50% of my clients use CNMs specifically. It's very CNM heavy, and then 40% use OBs, and then 10% are with home birth midwives. As far as having the placenta released, you do need to ask the client to check and make sure that she can have her placenta released to her. And then and the easiest way for her to do that would be to contact her local placenta lady or dude. We do have some placenta dudes around. But that it would be on the doula to know.
Placenta Person?
It's at Placenta Person. And just to make sure that she can have it at the time of birth.
Okay, but so my additional question with that is, so they say, yes, you can have your placenta. Of course you can. Mm-hmm. How does she preserve her placenta? Because she's in the hospital.
Right. Okay, so she needs to take a cooler to the hospital with her.
Okay.
And 2 of the gallon-size Ziploc bags, the 1 gallon-size Ziploc bags. And oftentimes the hospital may package the placenta in their own packaging, but she should really ask or have written down somewhere. I actually send my clients with a form that is a communication form for the hospital staff that says no formaldehyde, no saline on the placenta, just please double bag it. And the hospital has ice, and they will provide the ice in the cooler, package the placenta up, and it's in the cooler ready to go. And then to have someone in place, preferably, to transport the placenta home. There are some hospitals I'm aware of, not in Richmond, but around the country, that require that the placenta be kept in waiting and not released until the parents are released. A lot of things are problematic with that simply because of the way that food safety comes into conflict with hospital storage safety. So I would, if I were a placenta lady living in that area, I would get on the horn and start working with the risk manager of the hospital and explain that if this is your policy,
you're taking this other risk.
Then you're taking, not just that you're taking this other risk, but I would say, okay, let's have this policy, and you need to have a placenta fridge, the same way that you have a breast milk fridge, because this is both food considered by you to be food and a biohazard. Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing for doulas. I know placentas are beautiful, okay? Nobody knows that better than me. They're gorgeous. They are biohazard.
Yeah.
They are not something to
pick up with your hands.
Please, please, please wear gloves, universal precautions. If you're a postpartum doula and the mom asks, hey, can you bring me 2 pills? Either wear gloves or wash your hands afterwards.
Even with the pills, you feel?
Oh, even with, of course, even with the pills. That is her potentially infectious material.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with being overly cautious.
No, I totally agree with the universal precaution aspect of touching it. That's what we teach.
Yeah.
But I would not honestly have considered the placenta capsules just because they're encapsulated and they've been dried, and I just hadn't thought of it, but I can see you're wanting the caution there.
Absolutely. I mean, because I'm a placenta lady and a postpartum doula, I have been asked as a postpartum doula, hey, this was home birthers that froze chunks of placenta. Can you make me a placenta smoothie? And I said yes, because my kit was in the car. Had I not had my equipment on me that day, I said, I can't, but if your husband is willing to make it, I'll
instruct.
I'll instruct.
So just real quick, because we're kind of running out of our time frame right now, unfortunately, because obviously this has more involved. Other than encapsulating, there are smoothies to be made.
Oh, yes. There are several ways to prepare placenta. I follow the traditional Chinese medicine. All of the ways I prepare placenta are on my website at richmondplacentaencapsulation.com. And I do broth, which is the steaming water from the placenta. And it's sort of like a ginger tea. It really isn't as gross as it sounds, I promise. And then there are other encapsulators that do a raw preparation where the placenta is sliced up and dehydrated without steaming first. And there are tinctures that can be made. The smoothies are usually created in the first 48 hours because you want to do that right away, almost in line with the midwives that are having moms do raw pieces of placenta to prevent hemorrhage.
But I know how, but I don't know how. And you are at a birth, or you're in the postpartum, you say it is a home birth, or it's at the 2-day postpartum, 3-day postpartum, you shouldn't assume you know how to make a placenta smoothie. Is that correct?
No, I don't think that's correct. I think anybody can make a smoothie.
Okay.
It's a smoothie, for heaven's sakes.
No, I meant as far as quantity to put in.
Oh, quantity to put in. I think the question isn't about quantity or can. I think it's should. If you're in the hospital, should you bring out your magic bullet and whip up a smoothie? No. you're really, I mean, the nurse is going to walk in and wonder what the heck you're doing.
Okay.
And in a home birth situation, unless you've had some, I mean, there's 5 different training organizations out there right now. If you want to prepare placentas for women, I think that
Go through a training.
Right. What do you have to lose, really?
Right. And so it doesn't matter what size, what the amount is that you put in the placenta. I mean, could you put the whole placenta in there? Could you put does it have to be a small amount? Does it have to be a large amount?
I mean, I don't think anyone would do the whole placenta.
Yeah,
mostly
I was
because
being
of
facetious.
The chorionic plate gets in the way.
Right. But I mean, so it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to clarify. It doesn't matter
it's
the
not
quantity.
A question that we can answer.
Okay.
Because every woman's placenta is different. It will have different amounts of hormones in it. That's the other reason that this falls strictly under vitamin nutritional supplement territory instead of regulated drugs. You know, it's not like a Tylenol pill. Okay, that's 200 milligrams of acetaminophen. This is a placenta pill. In it, there is placenta. There may be a trace amount of oxytocin, there may be this much progesterone in it, and it's going to be specific to that woman. So as far as how much to put in a smoothie, we do a thumb-sized piece.
That's what I'm kind of going for. Okay, thumb-sized piece. That's what I was going for.
But that can vary.
Not a big fist.
I don't want a bunch of nasty
but not
from other encapsulators.
No, but not not a fist.
No.
But that's what I was going for.
Yeah, just the same amount that would be in a single dose if it were in capsule form.
Okay, got it. Okay, well, is there any last thing that you want? I know you have lots of things, Nicole, probably to discuss. Any last thing that you want to talk about?
We covered so much
We
today.
did.
I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I think this was really informative about the background of it. I think it's really informative about the anecdote versus evidence. And it's not, believe me, I am a strong believer in anecdote. I mean, I've been doing, people laugh, I say this at workshops, I've been doing unscientific research projects for 20 years by just taking surveys and questioning people about so many things. And I've come to conclusions based on that. And then what will happen is somebody will finally say, oh, well, we should research this, and they'll come up with the same answers. But give your website again to us.
It's richmondplacentaencapsulation.com.
Okay. And lots of information on there.
There is. And I also definitely recommend placentabenefits.info, which is my training and certification organization. And Jody Sealander runs that, and she has made her own name in the placenta research field.
Yeah. I think that's great. And look into that. Look into other organizations. Do what feels, look at your options and choices.
Absolutely, because they are different.
We are going to also be asking Nicole for some resources that we can post on our podcast website page so that you can do more information, look for more information yourself and get better educated. But I think this is something that as doulas, you should be very well aware of. Whether you have any interest in doing it or think it's weird or whatever, your clients are being exposed to this information and are looking at it as one of their options, and you want to be informed. You want to make sure you know what the options and choices are out there for them.
Thank you so much for coming today. This was great. I really learned a lot.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And just thanks for having me. This was lovely.
Great. Thanks, Nicole. Take care.
Bye.
Bye now. Nicole wrote us an email to clarify something she said during her discussion with us about the hormones in the placenta. She wrote, oxytocin is present in the placenta naturally, but after processing, it is in surprisingly small amounts. Prolactin is the hormone that is present in small amounts in raw placenta, and then after processing is not present. So whatever hormone is triggering lactation for placenta consumption, it probably isn't prolactin or oxytocin. Thanks, Nicole, for the update. We'll see you next time.